Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and there's a lot to talk about this week. Apple had their earnings call, we're expecting iOS 18.4 Beta 1, and much more. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of February 3rd, 2025. Apple had their earnings call last week where Apple had the best first quarter profits ever. Apple actually made $124.3 billion in revenue with $36.3 billion in profit. Apple also said they now have 2.35 billion devices active around the world, including iPhones, Apple Watches, AirTags, Vision Pro, iPad, Macs, and more. Now, Apple Music Replay's 2025 playlist is now showing in Apple Music. If you go to the new page, you can go in and see your replay, and it will go over whatever your latest music is based on what you're listening to or different family members, different milestones, and more. And this should be updated every month now at this point. So you can open that up, take a look at it, and see what your top songs are. Now, if you haven't been using Apple Music, there's now a 6-month offer for just $2.99 in the USA. So you can actually subscribe to this. I'll link it in the description below if you wanted to try it out. That's probably the best price and offer I've seen yet. And so 6 months for just $2.99 if you wanted to check it out. Apple also launched its back to school sale in Japan this past week. They're not giving out AirPods or anything like that, but they are giving gift cards for purchases of a Mac or iPad. So that should be active right now. Apple Care Plus is changing according to Mark Gurman this week. He said that Apple Care Plus plans will no longer offer a one-time purchase option and will be subscription-based. Currently, we have both options, so you could spend $9.99 a month to protect your iPhone or just buy the whole cost up front. It looks like that's going to change as they probably want more subscriptions. However, in the store, you'll still be able to do the one-time purchase. Powerbeats Pro 2 are expected soon, and Apple will supposedly release them on February 11th, according to Mark Gurman. The cost should be $250, offer noise cancellation that's improved, and fitness options such as heart rate monitoring. We've seen information about this from Beats.com, and it looks like they're finally going to be available. Vision Pro now supports NVIDIA GeForce Now, allowing for over 2,000 games to be played. Now, I actually haven't tried it myself, but let me know if you've tried it out, what you think of it, and if it's working great for you. Also, if you want to see maybe a 1-year review on this device, you can see the headband is actually cracked for me for some reason, and maybe I should see if Apple will cover that. But either way, let me know if you use it, what your interest is in it, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later in the video. The Apple Sports app was recently updated this past Monday along with iOS 18.3, and it brought some significant changes. The Apple Sports soccer lineup keeps getting bigger with the FA Cup, EFL Championship, and League Cup. Navigating between your favorites is even faster now, and you can tune in to all the national games with broadcast information now available on the game pages. So update this if you haven't already, if you wanted to check it out. Microsoft surprised us this week and announced better integration of iPhone into Windows 11. You can seamlessly connect it, Android or iPhone, and you can access iPhone experiences in the Start menu. This is available for insiders at this point, but will be rolling out a little bit later. You can even share files between your Android or iPhone device and Windows PC from the Start menu. So I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out yourself, see how you can try it out, and let me know if you use Windows or Mac in the comments below. Apple also finally released a support document about updating AirPods firmware. I've talked about this in other videos where it's not really that straightforward, and you basically just have to set them next to your iPhone. So it says find your AirPods firmware version, find your version on your Mac, and how to update it here. Make sure that your AirPods are in Bluetooth range of your iPhone, iPad, or Mac, and that it's connected to Wi-Fi. Put your AirPods in their charging case, close the lid, plug the charging cable into your charging case, then plug the other end into a USB charger or port. Keep the lid of the charging case closed and wait at least 30 minutes for the firmware to update. Technically, it doesn't need to be plugged in to do that. I've done that as long as it's over 50% battery, but at least they're clarifying this. And again, I'll link this in the description below. And speaking of AirPods, Apple's weekly deals are pretty good on them. AirPods 4 are now down to $99 on Amazon, sold directly from Apple. Now that is the version that lacks noise cancellation, but if you just want a simple pair of AirPods, these are pretty great and they work seamlessly, and I find them to be very comfortable. There's also deals on things such as Apple Watch, I'll link that in the description, along with iPads, iPhones, and more. Today, Apple surprisingly re-released iOS 18.3. iOS 18.3 re-release is available for iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro, and iPhone 11 Pro Max, but not over the air it seems. For whatever reason they released this, they haven't told us exactly why, and it looks like if you go to update your device, it's not showing up. if you already have iOS 18.3 22D63 installed or a previous update. So you'll probably need a computer to install this, and if we look for a software update here, we won't see it. So if you already have this build installed and you want to install the other one, the IPSW files seem to be available for it, but other than that, there is no specific over-the-air update or any reason why they've done this, but it is available now from Apple, maybe if you were having issues installing it. As far as releases this week, well, I do expect iOS 18.4 Beta 1 to release at some point. We didn't have it this past week, so it's very likely we'll see it this week, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday. However, with iOS 18 beta updates, Apple has been a bit random, releasing them on Mondays sometimes. So it just depends on what they decide to do, but it seems like they've gone back to their typical traditional release schedule of Tuesday or Wednesday. So we could see iOS 18.4 Beta 1 and maybe iOS 18.3.1 in the next couple of weeks or so. And the reason I say that is I talked about a security vulnerability that was recently discovered that Apple said they're going to patch. So that could be in a future update, maybe in a couple weeks. This week, we could also see a new service from Apple with a codename Confetti, according to Mark Gurman. This would be for event invites. We've actually seen some of the code in iOS 18.3 about this, and we don't know if this is a completely new app or going to be integrated into the Calendar app or maybe the Reminders app or something else, but it looks like it's going to be a new service specifically focusing on events. So I'm curious to see what that's about, and maybe it will be a good alternative to Calendar or maybe just a revamp to the app in general. Apple Intelligence is not live in many countries yet, but will be coming soon in April for 8 more languages, as detailed on the Apple Intelligence website and also confirmed by Tim Cook on last week's quarterly earnings call. Apple will actually be bringing it to Portuguese, Spanish, French, German, Italian, simplified Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. You can actually see that here in the fine print at the bottom of the Apple Intelligence page. Apple's Swift Student Challenge is now live, and the submissions go from now until February 23, 2025. And if you win, you'll typically be invited to WWDC 2025, which takes place in June. So that's what you'll see from now until then. I'll link this in the description if you actually want to check it out yourself and you're eligible to submit your app. Many have been wondering what's included in iOS 19. Apple typically adds hundreds of changes, sometimes some major new features, but this time around we're not hearing very much. We're hearing of slight redesigns with the camera app that seem to sort of follow Vision Pro, and possible redesigns with app icons that could be round or something along those lines, according to John Prosser. However, we're hearing very little other than that we're going to get the major Siri update with iOS 19. That was according to Mark Gurman, but we haven't heard much else. And last year at this time, we knew at least a little bit more about iOS 18 or what to expect. Maybe Apple's finally focusing on stability, or maybe it's going to be some sort of major redesign. That we could sort of hope for, maybe both, where we could have some stability, some consistency throughout the OS, or maybe something unexpected entirely. But either way, I really hope we get that fixed with a lot of issues and bugs that we're seeing with stuttering and more on many older devices, and some lag here and there for many people. Sometimes going into the camera, it's completely dark or black, and sometimes just things don't work as expected. So I would love to see a year of stability with some features, maybe some refinements, but nothing major. But hopefully we'll know more about that very soon. But we will hear about it at WWDC in June, so it's only a few months away. We'll see that typically at the beginning of June, around the 2nd or 9th with WWDC 2025. Of course, we do have iPhone 17 coming out later this year as well, and we've heard a lot about iPhone 17 Pro, iPhone Air, and Tim Cook on the earnings call this week mentioned that there's a lot more to come, and I could not feel more optimistic about our product pipeline. There's a lot of innovation left on the smartphone. So what they're referring to specifically, I hope doesn't mean they're just looking for a thinner iPhone such as the iPhone Air or a folding iPhone with an iPhone Fold, but we do think they're going to make both of those things. iPhone 17 could feature a new camera layout, but many have suggested that it wouldn't work due to the need of spatial photos and videos to have a certain orientation. However, 48 megapixels could fix this issue, or it may not be as big of a difference as we thought. Either way, I think the iPhone 17 definitely needs some sort of redesign. It's been a stale design for about 4 years at this point, and I think many people would welcome some sort of change. Apple is also close to finalizing its folding phone by selecting a display provider. According to YUEX1122 on the Naver blog, Apple is working on picking a display to comply with its strict requirements. If Apple is finalizing this now, we could see a folding phone as soon as next year, so maybe we'll have that sooner than we actually thought. We've also heard that the iPhone SE4 is coming soon, and there was a lot of debate as to whether it would have a dynamic island or a notch. According to analyst Ross Young, it will actually have a notch like it currently does and have similar features such as Face ID, an OLED display, a 48-megapixel singular camera, and a design similar to the iPhone 14, along with possibly an action button, but no camera control, but possibly millimeter wave as well. So it would be a lower-end iPhone, but would offer quite a few nice things, possibly even a late processor such as an A18. So with all of those features, of course, we could have 8 gigs of RAM, Apple Intelligence, and more. We should see that possibly within another month or so. So maybe by the end of February or within to March. So either way, I do expect some sort of update there fairly soon. We are still waiting for versions of updated iPads, possibly an M5 iPad Pro later this year, but I think we'll see iPad Air updated first, and then of course M4 MacBook Airs. That should launch alongside things such as the iPhone SE4. So we probably should see those within the next month or so, maybe an announcement sooner rather than later. Apple is also still working on development of camera use in AirPods. This would be for infrared sensors, maybe for heart rates, so not cameras that look around the world, but rather look maybe at your ear, notice different things as far as heart rate or more, and could pick that information up. This doesn't really surprise me, as we would have something like this already in the Powerbeats Pro coming very soon. So either way, I would expect some changes there with some heart rate updates, maybe in the Pro model for the AirPods Pro 3 or something else. And while we expect a new HomePod Mini 2 this year, we also expect the new Home Hub product many have actually rumored. Mark Gurman has said that it's still on track for a release later this year, and this time around he said that it could act as a smaller and cheaper iPad that lets users control appliances, conduct FaceTime chats, and handle other tasks. So based off that information, we could see that toward the end of the year. However, originally it was rumored to come earlier in the year. Either way, I would love to see some sort of update as far as home management, maybe some changes we didn't expect, and that Home OS that we've heard about in the code for years at this point. Apple Vision Pro is now over a year old, and Apple has stopped working on development of the AR glasses that many thought would be coming next that would pair with a Mac, according to Mark Gurman this weekend. Apple is still working on a cheaper version of Apple Vision Pro, but I think everyone thought the future would be AR glasses. Now, maybe they're waiting until the tech is more mature and they have something that they could sort of make smaller to fit into glasses, or maybe they've just abandoned it altogether. But I think many people thought the OS in Vision OS would work on sort of AR glasses, but that task definitely seems to be difficult at this point, so we may have to wait until future tech is available to handle that process. But let me know if you think Vision Pro is going anywhere. Would you buy a cheaper version, or do you have a Vision Pro and love it? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.